Welcome to Vicariously Podcast. Yeah, episode 1. We're here. The inaugural edition. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm not sure if this is just to my mom and dad and a couple of friends, or if you got referred this and you're chasing it down. Either way, really stoked that you're tuning in. Thank you very much. Vicariously Podcast, what is it? Well, I would urge you to stop by my website, which is vicariouslypodcast.com. There you can get the full rundown and get the long-winded version of what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, how I'm doing it, etc., instead of wasting your time talking about it. So let's dive right into episode 1. We're sitting down with a good friend of mine for the past couple years. His name is James Langley. I call him Jimmy. So how did I meet Jimmy? Well, friend of a friend. We ended up getting paired up on the golf course for a tournament. I'm probably 8 to 10 beers deep. I think he is too. And we get to talking. He ends up telling me how he wants to invest into a sports sponsorship with the club that I'm working at the time. And in horrible fashion, I steer him away from it. As a sales guy, I steered him away from it because I just didn't think it was best for him at the time. Fast forward, we ended up becoming really good friends because he valued the fact that I was looking out for his best interest at the time. So, what is it that Jimmy Langley does, and why is he on the inaugural Vicariously Podcast episode? 1, he started his own commercial real estate company, which is doing very well, him and another co-founder. That has parlayed into him being a owner or significant investor in 9 different restaurants, several different Starbucks properties, several car washes, and most recently, Resident Brewing Company, which is doing very, very well and has already achieved over 115 different accounts here in San Diego, which is pretty phenomenal given the area and the saturation of other craft breweries already in the market. So Jimmy has a really good story. I will tell you this. Please bear with me on the audio. This is probably the only time that we're going to have to deal with shitty audio, but I was on the top floor of a high-rise building, country club, whatever. We could not find a easy area to sit down. So we did our best to edit it, but please ride it out because Jimmy, especially towards the end, has really, really good insight on how he has gotten into the ventures, how he's been successful, the model he uses, etc. And also throughout the podcast, he tells me that he only has 10 more minutes, yet he went 45 minutes past that time. So bear with him. Enjoy the inaugural episode. Please watch all of our additional episodes. Please follow us on social media. And most importantly, if I steer you towards one thing, it would be the website, vicariouslypodcast.com. Enjoy. Out. I'm going to start from the top.
Start from the top.
I took some notes here on you.
Okay.
I know that, first of all, we're obviously going to keep this very casual.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that we're sitting here in this fancy corporate America setup, and I feel like that's your roots, but at the same time, it's not you at all.
At all.
All right, so background on you. Santa Rosa Junior College, then Drexel College of Business. What'd you study?
I studied business administration. Communications at Santa Rosa, and then transferred into business administration in Drexel. And then Point Loma Nazarene.
Yeah? I don't even know where that is.
It's in San Diego.
I figured that because I know where Point Loma is. So, good grades?
Interesting. So, like in high school, got probably like a 3.0.
Yeah.
But I was advanced in math, so like calculus, pre-calculus.
Yeah.
And then at Drexel, I took a business calculus. It was kind of what we called it. I don't remember. It was like Math 101 or Math 102 or D2 101 or something. It was a really, really hard math class. And I excelled in that, and I would excel in business classes. if you put me in a chemistry class, biology class, anything science, anything literature, reading, writing, out, not good. Couldn't focus. Didn't have the attention span.
Yeah.
So I probably got like a high 2s, low 3s average.
Normal people.
Yeah.
So I think it's an interesting point because one of my issues in school, anything that I couldn't directly say was applicable to like real world shit, I was out on. Like history, that's cool. When am I gonna
I struggled in history.
Yeah.
I actually love it now.
Yeah,
But
really?
I struggled at it in college.
All right, so you get out of school, you go right into work, no time off, right?
I took a little time off. So when I finished at Point Loma Nazarene, I had an opportunity to play as a free agent in the Cincinnati Reds organization.
Hell yeah.
And I waived that to take an opportunity to play in the Frontier League. Except for I was plagued with injuries.
Baseball.
Yeah, through baseball. And I was plagued with injuries. And I was going through rehabilitation. And I never quite got there.
Yeah.
I had to make a pretty hard decision at the end of the summer to finish my degree at Point Loma or try and play independent professional baseball. And I felt, my path to independent was because I felt professional baseball is too pre-selected, right? You're going against guys who've got huge contracts. That guy's going to go ahead of you, whether you're better than him or not. Independent was more about the numbers. If you perform, then you'll get looked at and play more and get better opportunities. So I felt like I'm going to look better on paper than I'm going to look physically. I'm tall, 6'6", left-handed guy, but maxing out at 90 miles an hour, handsome as hell. But maxing out at 90 miles an hour, it's not sexy,
Yeah.
But if I'm maxing out at 90 and I've got a 1.2 ERA and a sub-1 WHIP, then maybe I look a little more attractive. And so I just wanted the chance to play, and I knew and felt that if I did, then I would do well.
Yeah.
I ended up passing on that, though, and I decided to finish my degree. And the only reason I decided to finish my degree was that my mom, I was raised by my mom, and I asked my mom, and I told her what I was kind of going through. My mom literally said, look, this is your call. Like, you've gone farther than I would ever dream of going. And so do what you want to do and do what your heart says to do. But you would be the only person in our entire family, my side and your dad's side, who I don't know, that has ever graduated from college.
Really? Holy shit.
And so my mom got me this college ring for me, which was a big deal for my mom. And that's why I wear it every day, because I'm the only person in my entire family to ever
Buddy, I love that.
graduate from college.
Hell yeah. Good
So
work.
that was why I thought that would be kind of cool.
Dude, that's
And I was
sweet.
a semester away.
Hell yeah.
And in that semester, I took a real estate class from George Fermanian. The business department at Point Loma Nazarene is named the Fermanian Business Center because George Fermanian, who developed most of Solana Beach, he's one of the wealthiest developers, amazing developers in San Diego.
Yeah.
And he teaches a class there. And I really was drawn to him. He was an amazing person, very wealthy person, but had very humble upbringings. And he made this comment about how he was very poor growing up.
Yeah.
And I would challenge him on who was more poor for fun. And we had this like fun banter in class, but we connected, and he pulled me aside and felt like I could do well in real estate. And there was a guy he brought into class. I can't even remember the guy's name. I think it was Aaron. And he wore this really nice suit. And he basically told our entire class to not even dream about getting into commercial real estate because it was impossible to get hired. And this is 2004.
No way.
And the market was going nuts.
Yeah.
And that was literally all I needed to say, that's what I'm going to do.
Bring it.
Because he was like, you just told all my competition not to do it. And most of them are like, why would I mess around with that?
Super passive.
That to me was like, oh, that's a no-brainer. That was like, to me, that's exactly what I'm going to do then.
So how was the market? It was down here, had to have been pretty good, right? I feel like
amazing.
it wasn't, really?
It was going nuts down here at that time.
When did they build the stadium? The Petco Park?
So Petco Park opened in 2004. So I actually played that 2004 season. Actually played the first day game ever in Petco Park.
How?
Point Loma Nazarene against
Really?
University UCSD.
Dude, that's
That was
funny.
the first game ever. First game
Really?
ever.
I didn't realize your roots were so deep here in San Diego.
Well,
You're
I mean,
not budging.
no, I was from Northern California. I was not even from Santa Rosa. I was from a little town called Fort Ross.
Yeah.
I grew up in a trailer in the woods in Northern California. And so when I transferred to San Diego, I transferred with my bag of baseball gear, my guitar, and my suitcase. And Coach got me an apartment with some other guys. And I literally slept on the floor for 2 months until I could buy a $100 bed from like Mattress Discounter or something.
Yeah. That is funny.
So once I did that, I was giving private lessons to kids to teach them baseball. That's how I made money.
Yeah.
And I helped run Tecolote Youth Baseball Academy, and I ran a lot of like private lessons and travel ball teams. And Jay Johnson, who's now the head coach at University of Arizona, kind of made me one of his guys, like to help run the whole program. And I liked it because I met lots of great people. Right? Who can afford to pay to have their kid get pitching lessons for $60 an hour? It was pretty influential people, and so I met a guy who's my business partner now. And
so this is 2004.
This was the summer of 2004, fall.
Yeah.
Because I was in school already. And he was like, what do you want to do with your life?
Tough
and I'm
question.
like, man, I don't know. I want to play baseball. I want to get healthy. But at the same time, I want to finish my degree. And I'm taking a real estate class. And I think maybe I could get into real estate. I don't know.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, well, what kind? And I'm like, well, I want to buy land and build it up and sell it and make a lot of money on it. And he laughed at me. He was like, dude, everyone wants to do that. If it was easy, everyone would do it. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do what's easy, you know? Like, I want to literally go after what's really, really hard, because that's where I think I could separate myself from other people. And so he said, all right, do me a favor. Don't interview with anyone because you'll sound like an idiot. And frankly, no one will hire your ass. He said, go and sit and have coffee with people and just ask them questions. And it's a non-invasive way to learn more about the industry, and you'll connect. And before you leave, get 2 names from every person that you meet with, and then do it until you get hired. Literally just do that and you will get hired on the spot. I guarantee it. And after 34 of those, I got hired.
34 sit-downs? 34 coffees?
Yeah. And what was cool was my George Fermanian was like, hey, I will pay for those coffees, because I was dead broke, dude. But he's like, you have to bring a receipt, and you have to write like a little paragraph about what you met, about who you met, and then submit it, and then I'll pay for whatever you do. And so it was awesome. So that's why I knew 34, because I had to write reports on it.
I was going to say, you are good with numbers.
Yeah.
That's classic. Hell yeah.
So then I got hired at Grubb & Ellis, which was the second largest commercial real estate firm in San Diego, about a week before I graduated from college.
Who's
in December of 2004.
Who's the biggest CB? They're up there, right? CB Richard Ellis?
So CB Richard Ellis, Cushman Wakefield.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 largest that you'll see in San Diego now. At the time, there were more companies, right? You had, there's Collier's, there was Burnham.
Yeah, Collier.
They had, there's Grubb & Ellis, CB Richard Ellis. They consolidated, right? So Grubb & Ellis turned into Cassidy Turley. Cassidy Turley turned into Cushman Wakefield. Jones Lang LaSalle came into San Diego. CB Richard Ellis was here. But, people started going away and creating their own little boutique firm, which is what I did.
Yeah.
A lot of people started doing that during the crash, really.
Which was what, 08?
2000, really, it was happening in 2008, obviously.
Yeah.
You could see it, at the time I had started my own company with Ben in January of 2008. So I felt like I was invincible at the time. I was killing it early. I worked really hard, and you could just see, like, you would cold call and I'd get meetings, and then in the summer of 2008, you're calling people and they're literally like wishing that you would die on your way home from work. Like, it was a scary time, dude. And you could tell, like, right away, like, you used to call and get people in 2008.
Yeah.
That was over. No calling and getting in with people anymore. And that's actually when I changed my business model and my approach to business quite dramatically.
You were basically 3 years under a bigger institution before you went to the boutique, right?
And like as large of an institution as you'll find. So I was at Grubb & Ellis for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then I left to join Studley, which is the largest tenant rep platform in our country, and they are now in the world. And they're headquartered out of New York. And so I went and worked for this like massive real estate company. And it was great. Like, I'm really glad that I had that experience in that big corporate sector before going into my own boutique thing. Because frankly, I smashed the big corporate mentality. And like, to me, that would be crazy to do that, right? Like, you need someone who's boutique and so if you look at the guys who are most successful in the big corporate companies, they take boutique corporate approaches and then apply big corporate mantra behind it, and that's how they're so successful.
Yeah. So you said you switched your kind of game plan and your business approach 4 years in, 2008, and you're what, 2 years into your boutique at that point? What is it, Schwartz?
Yeah, so I was like a year into the boutique Schwartz commercial named after Ben Schwartz, my mentor. Literally, he was the first guy I met with. Yeah. And it was cool to be able to. He recruited me to come and work for him at Studley. And after we were there a year.
He was your first coffee visit?
He was my first coffee visit. And my other partner, Scott Dixon, was my second coffee visit. That is pretty crazy.
That's awesome.
And so he, for me, dude, everything that I am is because of that guy. Like, really took time out of his day, his life to help me learn. He was hard on me, but I mean, I wouldn't trade that for anything. I love that, right? That's baseball. That was, for me, the coaches that were tough on me were the best because they actually really cared, you know? So that's him, you know, he really, really cared about my success, and that was amazing to have. And so I changed my mantra because when we had our boutique firm, we're getting into the second year. Here I am doing office high-rise buildings downtown. I walked every floor of every high-rise building and into every single business and introduced myself. You know how hard that is to do? Yeah. That's like, I actually would not probably do that now. Yeah. I don't know what kind of fire. I almost, looking back, it's really more because I'm naive. Yeah. Like, I don't know enough to be scared.
You have to be that ignorant and excited to do it, and then you look back and you're like, holy shit, seriously? I really do that?
I'm like, that would
hey, nice to
that would suck. I'm like, that would suck, you know? I'm like, and so when I hired people, like, I actually would never make someone go and do what I did.
Start at the top, work your way down.
It's like,
and most of the places now, you have to check in at the front desk. You got to.
And it was, you know, this was 2008-9. This was happening, so it was getting more secure. Not as much as it is now, but man, people. I've been escorted out of buildings. I've had people throwing glass at me, like, dude, just for literally walking in and introduce myself. Like, you never know. What I learned was, in doing that, you never really know what someone's going through in their life, and everyone wears costumes on a daily basis, right? Like, in the morning when I'm in my sweatpants and I'm playing with my kids, I got my dad costume on. As soon as I put my seat on and I get in the car and I jump on the phone, it's almost like you can feel your voice change. Now I'm business Jimmy. If I'm having cocktails at happy hour and I feel safe, I'm gonna be fun Jimmy. And so it's kind of funny
golf course Jimmy.
It's totally completely different. So I think for me, I changed because I went from building this database and walking in and doing all this cold calling networking and going, okay, cold calling is out. People don't want to hear from you. Everyone's business is suffering. People's bill collectors are calling them and shit. They're not answering the phone anymore. So what I did was I joined here. I just started joining memberships. I joined the Downtown Partnership, the San Diego Venture Group, the Chamber of Commerce, the San Diego Bar Association. I wanted to meet attorneys. I joined the Consumer Attorneys of San Diego. I represent, like...
When you say join, like, how, is there fees associated?
There's a fee. I spent like $8,000 every dollar I had. I leveraged credit cards. I literally, dude, I would literally not be able to buy groceries at times because I'm like gonna go and sign up to join this membership.
But you could then rub elbows in a suit with
someone who I could make money from one day. So to me, there was value in that. When you're married, that was tough on my wife. You know, it was like, dude, you're literally going to go and join this thing and we can't buy fucking groceries right now? You're an asshole. And you're like, I swear to God, I'm not an asshole. but honestly...
Big picture.
Honestly, she was very supportive of it. I mean, most people would like run from that situation. I was pretty lucky to have someone very supportive of me. So, you know, as that built, I built my network, and over time, I focused on people and not money. And that was weird for people because everyone usually builds their business platform off of money. Okay, I'm going to make $200,000 this year. That means I got to make this many phone calls a day, which means I'm going to get this many meetings. I'm going to make this much money. I did the opposite. I felt like focus on the process. Money will come. Focus on the process and focus on people. So I wanted to represent, I wanted to do 15 deals with good business people, like smart people, whether it was 1,000 square feet, whether it was 10,000 square feet or 50,000 square feet. It was really about meeting with someone who was quality, because that person, if they were quality, has a better chance of success. And so my mentality was, by focusing on quality people that are success driven, as they grow, I'll grow with them, and as their network and they build their network, my network will grow through theirs. That was actually a very, very smart thing to do for me. And I'd love to say that I'm a genius or something, but that was kind of like a natural, I don't even know where that came from. Well, to me, it's baseball, right? It's you walk into the first practice of the year. Okay, we want to be 2015, 16, 17 champions, whatever, right? How do we get there? And you build a process that day. Well, we gotta hit for average. We've gotta take base on balls. We've got to have an error, fielding percentage this high. We've got to win 1-run ball games. We've got to get a leadoff hitter on. There's all these little things that you bleed into your program that become just a part of your fiber. And when you focus on that process, the result of winning comes. And that literally is all business school, everything that I've done, dude, you can throw that in the trash. Baseball gave me literally what I call my business plan. That was built from Santa Rosa, JC, Damon Neidlinger, the coach there, still there, literally built that in my head and beat it in my head until I got it.
I can't agree more. I mean, just having a sports background, you see so many times that people's just sheer tenacity, not to give up, or also from a teamwork standpoint, to work together, to understand that there's probably people on your team or on your floor or in your company that you might not get along with, or you might not even respect, but at the same time, the only way that you're going to get through every day or get through your goals is to learn how to work with those people. And I feel like if you don't have that sports background, you're at a little bit of you're at a huge disadvantage. You see it all the time. But
having that team mentality is everything. I think as a pitcher in baseball, knowing that you're only as good as your shortstop can field a backhand ground ball, or your third baseman can do a slow roller, or your center fielder can track a ball over the shoulder. Your catcher can block an 0-2 curveball. That's everything. Without those guys, you're not that good. You're not that good. There's very few people that are so good they don't need that supporting cast. And learning that has definitely helped me in business, and knowing that I'm not the smartest guy in the room. What I am smart enough to do is humble myself and know that I'm not the smartest guy in the room, and surround myself with people who are smarter than me, willing to do that, willing to do this, willing to sacrifice themselves. And the biggest thing that I look for in the people around me are people who are willing to sacrifice themselves for the betterment of the team. And so that's been huge. Having that in the back of my head is everything.
So when you started the boutique, did you have any skin in the game? Did you have capital to come to the table with it, or was it more of the vision?
For a real estate company, there's really not much capital that you need to have, right? You've got to build your website, you got to build your logo, you got your business cards, you got to get office space, you got to get desks. My partner Ben loaned me money to get my computer. I did the website and the logo. My wife did, really. And then, but it wasn't a ton of money. But we started in January 2008. I made enough money that year to pay him back in 6 months, that kind of front, which it wasn't that much money, but then make enough to actually have a decent living in that first year. So luckily for commercial real estate, it's not that expensive.
You just need a couple deals to come through.
And there's really you don't have overhead. There's no assistant. There's no receptionist. It's you, man. I had this funny thing my buddy gave me. It's these hats, and you can switch the hat to read IT, human resources, CEO, president, janitor. It was hilarious, dude, because that's who you are as an entrepreneur when you start your company. You're fucking everybody. And so there's no overhead, really.
So in my background in sports, I've always tried to hire or bring on people that worked in minor league baseball. Because if you worked in minor league baseball, the president or director of tickets, they're out there helping line the fields. They're out there like one day the director of premium seating might be the mascot, and then the next day it's somebody in sales and service. Like it's all hands on deck, and you cut your teeth in so many different areas within that organization, and no one's too good for the situation. So yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. So personal life wise, you and your wife met in college, is that right?
No,
right
we met at
college?
Grubb & Ellis, the first company I got hired at.
And so that was 2005, and then you got married in
2000. Yeah, we met in January 2005. We got married in September 2007.
So you're you're low on funds.
No funds. There's no money.
You're saying, believe in me, believe in the dream. Freshly married.
A little apartment in Point Loma. It was 650 square feet.
Yeah. And then, at what point did you have your first kid?
2011. Addison was born in June 4th. Fucking awesome story. Find out that my wife's pregnant with Addison in fall of 2010. At that time, in the fall of 2010, I had made not a single dollar. I'm not kidding you. I had not made a single dollar.
Hold on, profit or
No. Not a single dollar. Not one deal had closed to where I had made money. Not one. So I had made $1, and I find out that my wife's pregnant with our first kid, and you normally want this like elated, amazing feeling, and instead I wanted to fucking cry and crawl into a hole, and it was like the scariest fucking thing ever. And I remember driving up to our parents' house, and literally everything changed. Like I looked at this billboard and there was like a baby on it, and I'm like your mind just goes, it changes, dude. Like you literally are like, you get into like provide mode. And so I'd been getting recruited by people to go and do medical device sales. And they're like, dude, you have a huge personality. Yeah. You're a sports background. You're a grinder. You connect with people. You will crush in medical device. And I got offered a pretty nice salary from a company. Yeah. And I'm like, damn, dude, like I want to do this. I believe in it. My partner, Scott, I mean, he's going through the same thing. And at this time, Ben Schwartz, our mentor, was like, look, guys, I kind of did my time.
You're not hacking it.
And I'm like, and he's like, I'm kind of good. Like, I've made it. I'm already wealthy. I don't need to come in and beat my head against the wall. So he's like, I'm not going to be in the office anymore. I'm going to work on my relationships. I'm going to work on my deals and do my thing. You guys, it's up to you. If you need me, I'm here. Yeah. I always want to be here. Call me every day. But literally, this is on you guys. Like, you guys do what you want to do. Yeah. So it's my partner, Scott, and I look at each other and we're like, dude, we can do this, man. We got this, man. And so when that happened, we looked at each other, and it was crazy. His wife's pregnant as well. Yeah. And we've made no money. And he's like, look, if we don't make any money by the end of the year, then in 2011, let's just do something different.
Tap out.
Let's just tap out. Let's go and get a different career. We do this deal and literally made like good money. Like he and I made like, not a lot, but we made a good check in November and December. And that deal catapulted. It was crazy, man. It was like out of nowhere it starts to happen.
Because that's all commission, right?
It's all commission. Yeah. So we closed this first deal. We sold a pretty good-sized building to a client of ours in Sorrento, and then.
And you made roughly what?
We made like $35,000 each on that deal, and then that person who sold the building to us needed to do another building, so then we put them in a different building, and then they referred us another deal, and then all the networking stuff that I did, they started referring deals, and the next thing you know, 2011, we're like jamming, we're like. We got shit going on. We got our first kid. Yeah. Bought a house. Like I bought a condo in Tierra Santa, and closed in February of 2011. Right before we have our daughter. Yeah. And I bought it for like $190,000. The market was so horrible, and I remember like stressing out, like, oh my God, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna pay for this? It's so funny. the cost of it was literally like $200 more than our apartment. But I'm like, that $200 was like everything. How the hell are we going to get an extra $200?
Yeah.
But the mind is a funny thing, and like when you put yourself against the wall, if you have that kind of mentality, you figure it out.
Yeah.
And I kind of believe you got to take chances on things and just believe in yourself that it will come. And that's kind of crazy. Like, I don't know that everyone should do that, but I think if you have a fighter mentality, I think it's okay to put yourself in some corners sometimes, because you'll surprise yourself on what you can do. And I also think the more that we make ourselves uncomfortable, the stronger that we get.
Yeah.
Because we're learning, we're experiencing, and we're pushing ourselves to be better.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of a crazy time, and it was weird, man. It would literally, once we were pregnant with the first, my wife was pregnant with our first kid. That's when it started to like happen.
So 2011, things are now steamrolling for you.
Yeah, things
married,
are picking up.
You got a family, you're a dad, networking's going well. Basically, everything that you worked on for the past however many years is paying off. Company's doing well, and so stayed with the same game plan, doing all commercial deals, focusing on downtown San Diego.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah, and I was at the time, I actually was down for whatever.
Yeah.
I was focusing on downtown, but if I got a referral for Rancho Bernardo, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And we can work anywhere. It's just cultivating business was like, let's just focus downtown. If we get a referral from outside, we can handle it, obviously, but it's like too general to go outside of downtown. Downtown's dense.
Yeah.
It's like, let's focus and sharpshoot on that, and then anything else that comes out, we'll figure that part out of it. But I had a retail background at Grubb & Ellis, and then I switched to office with Studley. So I just was like, look, I'm going to do whatever deal comes across. If it's retail, fine. If it's office, great. If it's industrial, let's do it. And that was actually huge, because now we have so much experience in every facet of commercial real estate that we can handle almost anything.
Yeah.
Because we put ourselves through the grind and the downturn.
Yeah,
so we can make money.
I think that's a really important piece. And when I transferred in college, I remember I was a sociology major, and I remember I was with my brother and my cousin, and we were on a hike, and my cousin was grilling me. I was a sophomore at the time, and he's grilling me. He's like, what are you gonna do with your life, and what's your plans after college? I was like, I don't know. Fuck off. Like, I'm a sophomore in college. I don't know. I'm just playing lacrosse. I'm having a blast. He said, well, sociology major, what are you gonna do with that? I was like, I don't know. He goes, you remember such and such, one of his good friends that he grew up with? And I said, yeah, I remember him. He goes, he had a sociology major. I said, oh, cool. He graduated 4 or 5 years ago, right? He's like, yeah, he's out of college. So what's he doing now? He goes, cleaning pools. I was like, all right, good. I got you. I get your. I was like, I got your point. So I ended up transferring, and when I transferred, I went to Whittier and went into what was called the Whittier Scholars Whittier Scholars major, where you design your own major, which I went into sports marketing. But their big thing was at the scholars program was breadth and depth. So they wanted you, instead of being so well versed in one category or one curriculum, they wanted you to spread out. Say, like, be knowledgeable in these 10 subjects and go get the kind of the entry level, the 100 level classes, but definitely get into the 200 and the 300 level classes. Take a couple in each, but don't just corner yourself and focus on acing such and such category. And what came out of that is you do have a much broader sense of just everything, from a business standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, and it leaves you much more versatile. And I think, and not to put words in your mouth, but one of the things that I think is kind of how you really took off is because you were involved in all these different deals, is you started being able to see all the different dynamics of the deals that were coming to the table. So just for your own kind of career and what you're doing, you're seeing all of those deals. But then number 2, you're seeing what other people are paying, what they're getting into. You're getting handed business opportunities and saying, look, Jimmy, you're reading over this lease and telling me if it's a good deal, but oh, by the way, while you're at it, would you want to get involved in this? And that's kind of where everything kind of blew up for you too, right? That's when you got more diverse.
Well, so for me, it really started with the purchase of Nick's at the Beach and OB and PB for me. And so that was, Brendan Huffman, Mina Desiderio. Mina owned the local downtown. Brendan had Bootlegger. They were going to partner up, and they wanted to do a beach venue together and use the locals kind of branding and marketing behind it on the ocean front and do a beach concept. When Mina had a lot of connections in the industry, had heard that Nick's wasn't doing that well, we get a meeting with them, and here I am, like in my suit, and you got John Small, who owned those businesses and the buildings. Like, I don't want to deal with some broker suit type guy. In that, at that time, Brendan and Mina could have been like, hey, maybe we shouldn't have you involved in this transaction. The guy's nervous about the suit, and we want the deal.
You're like, I'm not really a suit.
I was like, they know that, right? But he doesn't know that necessarily. And I was lucky that they were like, you know what? We need your help on this. We don't know how are we going to negotiate the purchase and sale agreement? How are we going to write up this offer? How are we going to negotiate the lease contract? And that has such profound impact on a business. It was very wise of them and humble of them to go, you know what, we don't know everything. We know what we know. We know bars, we know marketing, we know how to operate, but we don't know, I don't know exactly how to define the net lease, like real estate. I don't know how to define the rent, how it climbs. Or I don't know how to build the operating agreement for this investment opportunity. And they're like, frankly, you could help us on a lot of things. You could help us with raising the money. You could help us with the operating agreement, the lease. And there's a lot of value, and they kept me in the deal. When it came time to pay my commission for the acquisition of the business and the 2 leases, the guy was like, I'm not paying this guy. That's not my guy. That's your guy. You got to pay him, not me. And we're like, that's not how it works, and you know it. And we were like, well, then we're not going to do the deal. And he was like, fine, don't do the deal. And I'm like, look, give it like 7 days. Like, there's no way this is a good deal for everybody. And like 7 days went by, I've never heard from the guy. And I'm like, what? So I went to Brendan, and I'm like, look, man, it's all good. I don't want you to lose a great business opportunity over my fee. Cut me out, And for me, at that time, Brendan was like, yeah, right. Like, no way. Like, we wouldn't be here without you. We wouldn't know how to do this, structure this. Like, this thing would have gone haywire 7 different times. I mean, that's very humble for someone to say and do and recognize. That's the type of people and partners that I have in this business. And so then once I got involved with them and they said, look, here's the amount of ownership we'll give you. It's equal to what you would have made in your commission, and you can help us raise money and kind of help us on a couple other fronts on the business side of things. And then what was unique or different for me was, rather than just saying, okay, cool, I'm going to help you like raise some money and do these things, I jumped into it. It was like, okay, well, how can I help you make money and make this business better in other fronts? How can I help you understand cost of goods sold and labor expense? And what are any other things that I can learn through my contacts to help make you better business people too? I want to add value to my partnership. And jumping into that allowed me, and that's when we decided, look, we're just partners. Like, anything that we do, we're just partners. We're going to do it together. You have this element, we need that. I have this element. And that's what's great about our restaurant group, to where, now we own a number of venues in San Diego. We started getting people calling us saying, hey, buy us out. We're failing here. We need an influx of cash, whatever it was. And then obviously once everyone who's invested with you is starting to get good payback on their investments, it becomes easier and easier and easier to raise money.
So how many restaurants as of right now that are you tied to?
Me personally, I am tied to 9.
9? Local, downtown, local, out of the beach. Bootlegger?
Nope. Wonderland. Brew Project. Rabbit Hole. Woku in Carmel Valley. Breakfast Republic, Carmel Valley. Breakfast Republic, Encinitas. Breakfast Republic, downtown. And then Resident Brewing Company.
So not to switch, how much time do you have?
We got another 10, 15 minutes.
Okay. So not to speed up the process, because we're gonna have you on here again, because I want to do a follow-up on kind of what's transpired. So obviously you got into the commercial real estate side and got into the restaurants and everything else. Now it's parlayed into, would you call resident brewing a hobby, or is it do you see it as a true business venture
True business venture. I would say I got into it as a hobby. I definitely knew there was good beer there. Look, I bought my brother-in-law a homebrew kit for Christmas in 2008, and he went crazy on it. Totally dove into that and became a hobby for him. But he's brewing amazing beer and winning awesome awards. And so when he won the Stone Homebrewing competition with his coconut IPA, I'm like, look, dude, this is a good beer. Like, we could mass produce this and sell it at Wonderland. And that's how my mind at the time was. And I talk to like young people about this all the time. Success to me is doing what is fun and what you love, what allows you to be yourself. The more that you can do something that allows you to be who you inherently are, the more enjoyment you'll have with it, and that's what success to me looks like. You might be freaking saving little animals in Africa, and hey, dude, if that's what you want to do, then do it. If it's what makes you happy, then go and do that. For me, I like being out there. I like being in front of people. I like connecting people. I like doing things. I like challenging myself. I like doing things that make me uncomfortable. I like trying new things. To me, the brewery was like the perfect situation to go, cool, we're going to brew a little bit of beer and we're going to sell it to Wonderland. That was literally my mindset when I was like, I'm going to build this company. So then I'm like, okay, I'm going to build this company. I can't not invite Scott, my business partner in real estate. So then I asked Scott, hey, would you want to do this with me? And he and I were like, yeah, we're going to get a little warehouse and maybe we'll sell to Wonderland and the local. And then I'm like, well, I can't not invite Brendan to this. So then I bring up Brendan. I'm like, hey, I think me and Scott want to do this. Would you be interested? And he was like, he's the one who kind of was the visionary, I would say, in the beginning. He was like, oh yeah, not only are we going to do this, we're going to come out of the gates fucking swinging. Hot. And we're going to go into every bar in San Diego. And I'm like, whoa, dude. I'm like, take it easy.
Let's come up with a beer first.
And then it was like, Mina, was like, well, we got to tell Mina. And so then Mina was like, hey, we have this crazy idea. And that to me was what drove the nail in the coffin with this, let's do this and let's do it grandiose. Mina like almost jumped out of her seat. Like, she's like, I swear to God, I was going to tell you guys we need to do this. And then here you are telling me this, we're doing this and we're doing it big. And so that's when I was kind of like, damn, dude, we're doing this and we're going to do it big. And we just came up with like, okay, what's big? And we looked at a lot of breweries and we decided to go and do the same size of what a normal kind of boutique brewery was doing after 3 years. We were like, let's open with that. Let's open with what a normal brewery would do after 2 or 3 years, and let's just start with that. And now here we are 10 months after we brewed our first batch, like vastly undersized.
Yeah, speak to that, because I hear the rumor mill as far as number of accounts you have, and I knew you're looking for more space already. So what size of the what are they called?
It's a brew house. So we have a 10 barrel brew house and we have 50 barrels of fermenter space. So you brew and then you got to let it sit in a tank. And that's where your backlog comes, because beer's just sitting in there, right? You could brew every day, but where's it gonna ferment? And that fermenter space is expensive because that's real estate, it's glycol, it's just sitting there. So for us, we're like building this up, we're doing this thing. We need more fermenter space, but we went downtown into a little small spot. We didn't expect to like grow this fast. We're in 102 counts in about 10 months. Our contacts at West Coaster tell us that's arguably the most in any brewery ever in San Diego in their first 10 months.
Absolutely.
There's one other. They believe St. Archer might have an angle on that, but that's because they jumped into a big distributorship right away. If you said, hey, who's self-distributed into 102 in 10 months, there's no way. Except for Belching Beaver, could I think of someone who self-distributed and got into that many. So that's pretty exciting. That's a great company to be in, right?
Absolutely.
So, now here we are, and you can go 3 routes, in my opinion. You can organically grow, just stay where you're at, collect money, and then invest. In 2 or 3 years, you invest a lot of money into something big. You can go and get additional funds from outside and sell part of your company off and go get big money right now, dilute yourself, but then go hit the ground running and go nuts. Or you can go and try and get funding, private funding, and do a loan and leverage the crap out of yourself that way. And so we're kind of running the numbers on each situation to see And what's great is most people would run numbers in that situation and kind of look at what's best for themselves, what's best for the investors. We're looking at like let's look at our investors, what's best for them. Let's look at what's best for beer, what's best for the community, and we're like putting ourselves last, us being the owners.
Which
like, we're the least important.
Yeah.
And that's so cool. It's cool that all of us are on the same page with that.
Yeah, that is tough. That's really tough. So basically,
We're lucky that we make money in other things.
Yeah, it is, but it's also how you got to where you're at, obviously. So it's makes sense that you would keep going down that road.
Yeah.
So roughly how many investors do you have to manage on this?
27, too many.
Do you think, would you say that you have so much luck with investors, or you have so many investors because of your track record, or because of just the kind of the demeanor and the game plan and the way that you guys have built everything you've built? Because it is a very natural, organic,
It's a little bit of both. I mean, when we did the fundraising event for I could have raised $6 million. We had
what fundraising?
40. So I did an event to basically offer this investment opportunity, and we did an invite to all of our friends and family, and we had 110 people there. Mm-hmm. And it was packed, and I stood up on stage without a microphone, and I just literally talked for an hour about why we were there that day. And when it was done, I was like, what kind of questions do you have? And I know this inside and out. This is my baby. Answered every question that they had, and then I said, if you're interested, fill out this piece of paper, put how many points you're interested in, and we'll get back to you. And then, dude, that's insane. I could have sold 160 points that day or something, and I only had 40 to sell. And so we handpicked who invested in the project with us, which is pretty cool.
So I know you got to run, right?
Sorry for those people who didn't get it.
No, there'll be new projects. So you got to run, right?
No, we're fine.
Okay. So here's kind of, and I know that you're on a little bit of a time crunch, and it's fun because we're going to do this again and follow back up and see where you're at now. But so when I sit back and look at it, first of all, I love the beer, and I love beer in general. But I think I've been blown away with obviously the success that you guys have had, but it also morphs into everything else you've touched. So it's a good standalone project, but also it's a great added entity to some of the other things that you own and can parlay relationships, etc. So my question is, the restaurant industry is arguably one of the hardest industries to get into, but you've had a ton of success, and now your track record puts a little bit of pressure on you because everything you have touched has done really well. So that's kind of the first part. And the second part is it kind of goes back to the whole you getting into commercial real estate when they said not to, but you just opened a brewery in San Diego, which already has over 112 craft breweries here and locally. Like, it's kind of absurd that you would even go down that path when it's pretty oversaturated.
Right. So two things. So anything that you do, right, you have to know exactly what you're getting into and why. And so I'm very, very analytical. So when I look at a restaurant deal, I actually have no fear. If I do a restaurant deal, in my opinion, you are freaking crazy to not invest with us, because we've done it so many times now that we've taken the risk out of it. And so here's how we do it. Here's how I do it. And I built this myself, and it's very unique for anyone to have this kind of data, and I share it because no one would have this kind of data. Mm-hmm. But I have my hands, remember, I'm an owner in this many places, but I represent a lot of different bars and restaurants in San Diego. Mm-hmm. So the information, the contacts that I have are second to none in San Diego in that scene. When you look at a deal, there are 5 components of real estate that make it valuable, and especially really in retail, right? It's ingress and egress. How easy is it for someone to pull in and pull out and get in there? It is traffic counts. How many people are driving by your property on a day or walking by on a daily basis? It's position of real estate. Frontage for inline space versus corner space. How much natural light are you getting? What is the position of the real estate? How does that real estate actually sit? Is it long and skinny? Is it a square? Is it a rectangle? Is it a triangle? that has a lot to do with the efficiencies and what you can do with your real estate. So you have to really look at that and kind of go, okay, is this a really efficient space that we can maximize seats and profits? Because that tells you a ton.
Yeah.
The next thing is your co-tenancy, like, or your who's around you, what's the SWOT analysis on the business that you're going to put in there and that's around you.
Yeah.
So you go and build a business that's actually not conflicting with, like, I'm not going to go open another ramen place next to 10 ramen places, right? Like, you look at it, the market, and say, what is missing here? That's what a lot of people don't do, because it's a passion project. I'm going to open Grandma's Tacos because my grandma makes the best tacos ever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look at the fact that there's 10 taco places in a 1 mile radius from me. And that's where people really make a huge mistake. And then the last part is kind of the visibility, the signage, like the recognition. We are funny as humans. Like, we're subconscious. The more that we drive by something, see it, recognize it, see it online, the more in our subconscious that we start to trust that it's a place that we should go and hang out at. And the more that you build that trust on a subconscious level, the better chance of success that you've got. So when I looked at the deals, I take those 5 components and I can actually rank them on actual numbers. I can literally look at comparable properties and measure how many cars drive by. I can measure how many feet of frontage the property has. I can measure its efficiency rating. I can measure its competitive advantages. I can do an analysis on that. I can literally rank those 5 components of location and put a number, a value to it. I then take that value and number and I run a statistical kind of average on what a venue does with similar ratings. So if I put a scale of 1 to 10 on those 5 components and I get a score of 45, I can tell you within 10% what a venue will sell in the first quarter of it opening. Within 10%.
Really?
Every single time. I'm like 100% accurate. And I can do that through statistics. It's simple math, really. You basically, once you have enough comparative data, you just run a statistics model on it. So now once I know that, I'm not walking into a project blind. Now I take whatever it should do and I deduct 30% from that number. And that's a sales figure that I, in my opinion, consider to be a safe number. I then take that safe number and I multiply that times what net profits should be on a venue. I then take that number and multiply that times 3.5, and that's my budget for the project. I then take that budget and that sales number and cross that against what rents should be. And I know that I don't want my occupant, I have a personal number that I want. I don't want my rent to exceed a percentage of those costs or those sales. If all of those pieces fit into a box, we got a deal. But 9 out of 10 times they don't.
What was the 3.5?
3.5 is your budget. And that's basically saying, if we did marginally well, if I totally screwed up and my statistical analysis failed, and I only did 30%, or I did 70% of what it should have done.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I will get your money back in 3.5 years. That's a 30% return, 28% return. People are very excited about that. Where can you go and get a 28% return? Like, no problem. I've never done worse than a 45% return. So the more that I do this, the better it gets, the more that I know. And so then my negotiation tactic is the opposite of what most brokers would be when I get space, because they don't have that data. So they'll go and they'll argue with the landlord, I don't want to pay this much rent because it seems expensive. That landlord will say, too bad, every tenant in here is paying that amount of rent. Cool. Well, guess what? I don't want to be every tenant in this place, and I don't want to go through this brain damage to make $50,000 a year. So here's what I'll do it. If you want, and if you don't want us, then you don't want us, and I'll run through that. And now I've got actual analysis that I can show a landlord and go, this is why I need rents to be at this number, and I'll get the deal. Where most people, I'll get rents 50 cents less than most other tenants.
50 cents per square foot less than.
Because it's like the landlord's looking at me going, I don't want to just put in Applebee's.
Yeah.
I'm going to go put in Applebee's. Go put in Applebee's. It'll be great. You can have a soulless restaurant in here. It'll be great for your shopping center. That's really going to drive your rents as a business owner. If I go to meet with someone, right, and I go, cool, put Applebee's in here. They'll sell this. They'll make this. They'll pay you the rent that you want. They've got systems in place. They can mass produce their things here. They can cut costs of goods sold. They can cut labor. They've got all these systems that allow them to pay more rent.
Yeah.
Now, your shopping center is going to get a venue that does this amount of sales, which means this much traffic, which means this equates to this kind of sales figure in your shopping center. If my venue does well, the venues around you do well. That means more money in sales, and higher sales figures that you can show, the higher you can charge in rent. And that's my argument to landlords. So they're going to give me a better rate than most because I'm going to bring something completely different. It's better. That's going to generate more dollars, but it's going to be coming at a cost.
That's phenomenal. And I think, me personally, knowing you, now it all makes sense, because I never understood why you take you and you're in commercial real estate, you own a brewery, you own restaurants, you got into a noodle shop, you got into a car wash, you got into Starbucks. So you get into all these things, and there's no rhyme or reason on how the hell you can touch each of these and know enough about a car wash versus a brewery versus a noodle shop.
But I do.
But you do, because you're looking at it strictly as the space versus... Yeah.
So on the car wash, you know what we did? We went and managed traffic counts. We did demographic study, population, household income. Oh, that was the other thing I didn't touch on. Demographics is everything, right? How dense is it in a 1 3 5 mile radius? How much income are they making? What's the ethnicity? What kind of cars are they driving? All of that stuff. Once I know that data, coupled with the traffic counts, I then go to other car washes with similar traffic counts, and I pull how many cars that they do on a Saturday and a Sunday. Once I know the average of the cars that they do, and then you do monthly subscriptions, you then back that number into what your sales figures should be and what your nets should be. And on the facility that we're building down in Chula Vista, we know that we will average, and I'm telling you, we're going to be within 10%, I bet, of this, because I did the same statistical analysis. I bet you that we do over 500 cars a weekend in the summertime in our location down there, which means we should net over $650,000 a year in the car wash.
Net. When is that going into place?
It's under construction right now.
In time for summer.
So then I also squeezed enough room in the land with me and Scott and my other partner with the car wash. We got together and figured out how to squeeze the car wash to make it smaller and more efficient so that I could build a 1,700 square foot Starbucks drive-through on the same pad on a separate parcel and develop that and sell that off as a net lease investment to then cover our entire cost of our real estate, and we'll leverage the whole thing. So the actual net cost out of our pocket will be $500,000 for something that will spit out $3 million and then cash flow $650 a year. Crazy deal. Those don't exist. I would do that. I would just only do that if those were around all the time. So
did you get that presented to you, that space, or did somebody find that you found that space?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's fun. And dude, this is every day. Like, so you think about so I built a private equity firm so that I could look at companies and completely just continue to challenge myself, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to learn about more companies. So I started looking at tech companies, started looking at clothing industry. I started looking at marketing companies, and then like with C Street, like I see this huge real estate value in downtown San Diego that's just worth nothing because it's just desecrated by homeless people.
Yeah.
And not that I have a problem with homeless people, I have a problem with drug addicts and criminals, you know, and that's what you see down there. It's not, I shouldn't say homeless, I should say drug addicts and criminals.
Yeah.
No one wants to spend any time down there, but you will clean that up if you have a business that's open and operated, telling, hey, criminal, don't stand in front of my freaking restaurant. Don't stand in front of my bar. Don't stand in front of my clothing store. You've got to activate it. But no one wants to put their money into that. So I negotiated a deal with Saquon and my partner to say, look, you've got this real estate here. You guys don't want to spend any money on it. You don't like C Street. It's horrible. Let me spend the money on it. You own the land, okay? Let's partner. You own the land. You already bought it. I'll come in and I'll improve it and I'll get it leased out and we'll split the income, okay? When we do this, now we will improve this area. And once we've shown that we can improve this area, now all of a sudden the next project happens. The next project happens. But we're going to be at the forefront of it. So now we'll be the ones that goes and buys all that real estate, knowing what can be done with it before, and tracking trends and statistical data that will allow us to pay for real estate at prices that people would have in the past thought is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. We'll be laughing in 2 years of how much money we've made because we see it coming. And this is a way for us to build this without really putting our ass in the wind.
Yeah.
And now we can see this and we can partner and do big things together if it goes well. And if it doesn't, guess what? we didn't really lose any money. We get a good, decent return. We make 8% on our money and we're upset about it. I think we'll be okay. And so I can safely show we'll make 8% on our money, which is not sexy at all. It's boring as hell. I could just go and do an Oppenheimer. I could go do an Oppenheimer fund. You go do an Oppenheimer and get that. So for us, it's like, look, we screw up, we make 8% on our money. We don't, we do it right, take over a huge chunk of we change the way San Diego looks downtown. So that's like that project I'm really excited about, because that was a very creative kind of solution to a big problem that could be
so
huge.
That's in the works as of right now.
It's done. I just signed a 50-year ground lease on a 20,000 square foot building with two partners. My partner Scott and Simi.
When did you sign that?
Just now, just like this week.
All right, so that's in the works.
23 unit apartment complex.
23 unit. Where's that? That's in
North Park.
North Park.
That's with me and Tim Wright and his dad. Breakfast Republic. Amazing partnership with him. I met him, and he had no clue on, like, he's like, how do you raise all this money to open this many places? And I talked to him about syndicating and raising funds. And he had never done that. He had self-funded all of his deals. That's the most risky thing I've ever heard of. And but then I started seeing his deals, and it made sense to me. I started looking at his numbers, his analytics. This guy's doing what we're doing in bar sales, but he's doing it from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then he's netting almost double what we net. Yeah. Because his cost of goods sold are low, and his labor's low, and so he's netting big numbers. Then he showed me the deal that he found, and so I decided to fund it myself.
So you're now involved with him for how many new locations?
3 out of 5 locations, and now we'll do every future location pretty much together.
And then what's over there?
That was the North Park apartment complex deal. I've got the 20,000 square foot office building project down here. I've got the Starbucks and the car wash deal, and then. And that's kind of
Resident.
And then Resident, and then remember, I've got my commercial real estate firm, so I've got about $100 million in offers to buy property in San Diego right now with different clients, and so that's massive. And I've got about 19 different tenants that we currently negotiate lease contracts for, or in the process of negotiating for. So I built a pretty big tenant rep firm in San Diego as well.
You want to know what one of my favorite parts is? You're leaving me to go do what?
I'm gonna go pick up my kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you still get your family time.
Yeah.
Wife's still happy.
Yeah.
We've been to concerts together.
Oh yeah.
We've been out. We've been at the bar together. So you still put in the family time.
Yep.
She's obviously a very special woman and is very lenient, I guess.
She's very patient and understanding, and she's in commercial real estate as well.
But you have some late nights.
Dude, more than most people do, and I have to, and look, like, think about what I do. I represent almost 300 different clients in San Diego businesses. So it's Christmas time. What do companies do? They throw Christmas parties, and think about how many clients invite you to their Christmas party, and then think about what happens if you go to one person's Christmas party but not the other one, or if you represent 3 law firms that do class action, and you go to this person's Christmas party and you don't go to the other one. You got to do it. So this time of year for my wife, I have 9 Christmas parties this week. I have 13 parties next week.
And you'll be at all of them.
I'll be at all of them.
And your liver will show up for all of them.
Dude, I've learned to fake drink so well. I get a club soda and lime, and I make it look like I've got a cocktail all the time. And you would never know. I'm just as fun, sober, drunk, whatever. Yeah. Some people might think I'm more fun intoxicated, but I think I'm just as much fun no matter what.
Hell yeah.
So
I think you're the man, and I can't wait to put this out there. I can't wait to piggyback it and follow back up to see where you're at. And I saw this the other day, and it's probably a good way to close, but it's a quote from Elizabeth Holmes, and she said, "The minute you have a backup plan, you've admitted you're not going to succeed." I think that's fucking awesome.
I love that.
I think it's exactly where you basically started and have come up, and it really just says a lot, because if you go into it kind of half-heartedly, or if you go into it with the intentions of, I need to make X and I need to survive and I need to do this, and you're not gonna hack it. You gotta have your back up against the corner a little bit, and you gotta just go for it. You gotta just jump.
No doubt about it.
Hell yeah, man! I really appreciate it.
Thank you for doing this. This is actually fun. I'm humbled that you would even want to do this. It's great.
You're the man.
You're the man.